Tonight we'll hear at least one side of that nurses' strike.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Taco Comfort Solutions.
Always kind of the nature of the game that the strikers are a little bit more vocal, a little bit more active, and those who have been struck against are a little bit tight-lipped. But I think it has been unusually disciplined that the hospital organization at Rhode Island Hospital, Lifespan, has not been very conversant about the issues that they're engaged with the nurses right now and the other employees inside the union. And so we'll meet a representative of the negotiating team from the nurses here this evening, find out what they learned from their experience last week, and see if we can't lay the table for a little bit more information for everybody. Nice to have you in on this Monday, this hot, humid August. What are you complaining about? Talk to me in January, right? Jeez Louise. Although I don't know if I wanted to be walking in circles around the hospital in this hot heat. I'm sure that was a challenge. A couple of things on the agenda. We still have to check in with the president because his whole disposition is as fast moving as his tweets right now. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's the ticket. The first meeting, the meeting in Trump Tower, it was about adoption. And now we've got a concession that it was strategic, and the ball keeps moving and the goalposts keep moving.
President Trump is now acknowledging the purpose for his son Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with a Russian lawyer in 2016. Over the weekend, he tweeted, "This was a meeting to get information on an opponent, totally legal and done all the time in politics, and it went nowhere. I did not know about it." But when news of the meeting first became public last year, Donald Trump Jr. issued a statement saying it was about Russian adoptions and mentioned nothing about politics or opposition research. And in January, the Trump legal team revealed in a letter to the special counsel that it was President Trump himself who dictated the explanation about adoptions. That contradicted previous Trump team statements about the president's involvement.
This was Donald Trump Jr. and his lawyers. The president was not involved in that.
President Trump's lawyer now admits he was wrong to say that.
I had bad information at that time. I made a mistake in my statement. I've talked about that before. That happens when you have cases like this.
The Trump Tower meeting, as well as what the president knew about it and his role in issuing the misleading public statement, are part of the inquiry being run by special counsel Robert Mueller. President Trump has repeatedly claimed that the Mueller investigation is a witch hunt and that there was no collusion. And last week, he called on his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, to put an end to the Mueller probe.
So, you know, I didn't have enough information back then. The whole thing is just, well, there's never one day that looks like the next. And at some juncture, it's going to catch up to somebody. We'll find out who. In the meantime, coming home locally, the governor's race has been the ultimate snoozer so far. I mean, really. I ask you, is there anybody out there, like walking the Warwick Mall, that if I asked them, what do the candidates stand for, they'd have an answer? I don't know. But Alan Fung has, well, he's polled some people. And if you think this is an authentic thought process by Alan Fung, that there will be no driver's licenses for illegals, then you're whistling Dixie. Nothing these guys do isn't buoyed by some kind of polling data. And there are plenty of people out there who are resentful of the Latino population specifically, and others who are here without legal status. Now, you know, the illegal aliens, the undocumented people, there are all sorts of ways to refer to this population. There's about 5,000 people, though, and I don't think people understand this, about 5,000 people in this state who actually pay taxes officially through a tax identification number to the federal government, even though they're illegal. And the reason is the government's screwed up immigration policy is such that you can't hire an illegal, but if you do, tax them. Okay, so now you tax them, but you don't give them a driver's license to be able to use the highways that they're helping to pay for to get to the job. So Governor Raimondo is saying that she was going to provide, work toward providing driver's licenses for illegals, makes sense to me. It's not part of some wacko progressive policy. If I was being taxed for something that I couldn't participate in, I don't think that would be very cool. And I think when a lot of you know that information, you go, oh, I didn't know that. But you didn't know that when you answered a poll that said, oh, legal shouldn't have driver's license, and Ellen Fung is just kind of seizing that moment. That's what it is, just telling you. Next thing, it's a crucial day. Oh, by the way, we have polling data coming out tomorrow. Well, you see this show at 7:30. Eric, can you pull that down? I jumped the gun. My bad. Can you make a note that we have Tim and Ted tomorrow night to talk about the polling data that is coming out, that came out. So you see the show at 7:30 midnight. We tape it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have polling data on the governor's race, and we'll examine all that tomorrow. Okay, my bad. The Paw Sox, as we are speaking as we tape this show, are meeting with the mayoral administration in Pawtucket for one more attempt, Hail Mary pass, at trying to get a finance deal planned with the Paw Sox management in the confines of that piece of garbage legislation that the speaker promulgated and the governor said nothing about. And the Senate went, oh, we really need the Paw Sox, so we might as well sign on to this. Really, really awful piece of garbage. It doubles the cost of the deal. It makes no sense whatsoever to do it. However, within the confines of the legislation, there is some room for the city of Pawtucket to try to broaden its resource base. And that's about all I can say about this based on my investigation of this whole thing. In the meantime, Worcester is trademark, at least the application's in for minor league baseball to trademark Woo Sox. That wouldn't be Woonsocket Sox, that would be the Worcester Paw Sox, Woo Sox. And Worcester has a date of August 13th, reportedly, to unveil their offer. So, I mean, this thing is 94% headed out of state, FYI. And lastly, that big, tall building that Superman couldn't even leap in a single bound for the city of Providence is got a little bit of a hit when the council president said he's not in favor of it in that location. I'm told by Dan McGowan, who knows more than anything about Providence city politics, that WPRI.com, that it's still a jump ball in the council in terms of approving that building. So, FYI. All right. Here's a headline that is the latest when it comes to the nurses' situation. The union votes no confidence in the lifespan leadership and approves a new strike notice. And Tracie Galloway, who's a pediatric intensive care nurse and has been at the hospital for 25 years and is a member of the executive board, joins us. Tracie, welcome to the broadcast. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Let's start with the new news, and then we'll go backwards in the next couple of segments. No confidence in the management. Why?
Well, most of the people that work at Rhode Island Hospital don't even know who Timothy Babineau or Margaret Van Bree are. They don't really come out and make themselves noticed, so they don't even know the work that we do, the work that's performed, the equipment that we're short of. They don't know any of that stuff that's going on. They stay in their offices majority of the time, so most of the people there don't know who they are.
I can't, wait a second. That in and of itself is newsworthy to me. Mm-hmm. They don't roll their sleeves up and walk in every once in a while. I'm not saying they got to be there on a day-to-day basis, but you know, every 2 or 3 weeks or a month, swing by, say, hey guys, how's it going? Da da da. Thanks for saving lives. Blah blah blah.
No, none of that. I actually had a nurse that I work with who ran into Dr. Babineau and had offered for him to follow her around just to see what it's like in the nurse's shoes, and he never responded. He never showed up. Nothing.
Okay, the no confidence votes generally are fait accompli. You're having a contract negotiation problem, and easy target. But you're saying it's about more than
it's more than economics. It's about having respect. It's about the nursing shortage. The older nurses are constantly reorienting because about 30 to 40% of the newer nurses that come in leave within 5 years, and they go somewhere else for less stress, more money.
Tastes great, less filling. Mm-hmm. Less stress, more money.
Yeah.
So, Why don't we do this? When we come back, we'll ask the question, because I think this is the one that's been burning for most of us. What is this job action about? Less stress or more money? Stay with us. So the headlines look like this at the beginning of this whole thing, and here was an Eyewitness News package that kind of highlighted the post-strike timeline.
The strike ended, but the dispute is not resolved. The UNAP Local 5098 union that represents nurses and techs at Rhode Island Hospital and Hasbro is still without a contract. They go back to the negotiating table on Wednesday the 8th. Both sides say they want to come to an agreement. But if negotiations fail, union members voted Thursday to allow the executive board to issue another 10-day strike notice.
It's no one's intent to pursue a second strike. We didn't take the initial one lightly.
Union spokesperson Ray Sullivan says they aren't issuing that strike notice yet, but it's there if they need it.
And they've continued to raise issues of patient safety, of fundamental workplace fairness that have been ignored by Lifespan leadership.
The hospital has said those issues never came up in negotiations, and it was mostly about wages and benefits. A hospital spokesperson telling Eyewitness News the hospital is committed to negotiating in good faith toward a contract that reflects the value of our nurses and technical staff. Rhode Island Hospital will not be swayed by the threat of another strike.
Yeah. I mean, we're ready to go out on strike if we have to. Not that everyone wants to go out on strike. We really don't want to. We want to be there at the bedside taking care of our patients because that's what we believe in. That's what we came into this job for. But we're looking for a fair contract. We want respect. We want...
What happened? Let's go backwards. Your negotiating team...
Correct.
Cut a deal. Brought it back for presentation at least.
A temporary agreement, yes.
What was the tone of their presentation to you? Did they say, guys, we like this? Or say, I don't know, but because there's some confusion here as to, okay, the two sides made a deal, and then you guys, by what, an 80% margin, said, no way.
Well, yeah, our membership was pretty much totally against the
What was wrong with the offer?
A lot of things. There was a lot of things that were wrong with it, but we don't feel like we should negotiate our contract in the media. So we feel like our best time to negotiate will be at the table with the hospital.
Well, the hospital put numbers out in terms of the total percentage of increases and the like, and the 4-year deal, and some increased benefits and some salary stuff. And it was, to me, it only seemed like it was a few $1 million apart. And so I'm confused as to why this nut can't get cracked.
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question.
Did what they put out was phantom, or did you not recognize the terms that they talked about?
No, we did. A lot of the stuff that they were saying is misleading.
What's misleading?
Their healthcare plan is misleading for us. That was one of our huge issues that we had with members.
Because it's not a good one?
It's not. It's not a good one.
What's wrong with it?
A lot more money. A lot more money in our
co-pays that you have to pay?
Co-pays and co-share. So increase in our co-share.
Does it mitigate the raise that they're offering?
Yeah. Yes, it does. That was a huge decision that the membership made.
So whatever raises we see in terms of percentage increases, you're telling me that the health care costs shave those increases off?
Correct.
It's an ongoing dilemma. It's an ongoing dilemma in corporate business world, man, because healthcare just... the irony is you're working in it.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, it's not like you don't know and see what the burden the patients have. All right. So, you authorize the job action, the 3-day strike, has to go forward because, well, they say it has to go forward because Rhode Island Hospital contracts with this replacement company that works on a minimum 4-day basis. How'd that sit with everybody?
It didn't sit well. We know that there are other companies out there that they could have contracted with that wouldn't have been for the 4 days. So, I mean, it was their choice to do the 4-day contract.
You guys have said that the $11 million or so that cost the hospital to replace you was threatened or did get taken off the table in the offer?
It did get taken off the table. Yes, it did.
Yeah, see, this is why I would love to have the Lifespan people here for an honest, transparent conversation about that, because you know what, cost of doing business is cost of doing business. They didn't have to pay you for that period of time.
Correct.
So I don't know what the net is. Do you know?
I don't know what the net is.
Meaning, what I'm saying is the cost of employing you on a regular basis and your comrades. Okay, we're not paying you, but we're going to pay them. They're more expensive because they're per diem.
Right.
But it ain't $11 million.
No, it's not $11 million. No.
No, no. You're smiling about all this.
I always smile.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing.
I try to keep a good thought.
Smiling's good. They say it on Elf. Smiling's good, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Smiling's good.
Yeah.
Well, you got to keep your wits about you during this whole thing. We got to answer that question. Is this about wages and benefits or quality of life on the job?
It's about mainly quality of life on the job, the stress that the nurses endure, the unsafe staffing, the fundamental lack of resources that we have. That's what we're there for.
I don't know why. I understand why you would negotiate with management over these concerns, but if we have in Rhode Island's premier hospital unsafe staffing,
right?
No reason. You guys you're hoarding your
We're hoarding equipment. Yes. Yep.
Meaning what? You go in and like stash it so that so that your associate can't get one in case someone's stat needs something. I mean, what are you talking about?
Not that your associates couldn't get it. It's so that like if you get a patient that needs more than one pump, or you can't find them, it's a couple of hours to wait for a pump. So if you need someone that's getting insulin, that's something that needs to be monitored. You can't just have it hang in there and let drip in. So there are pumps that we have our unit assistants like hide for us because they see us on the floor trying to scramble around trying to get equipment and stuff like that. So they help us.
Who is watching the operational day-to-day stuff in the hospital who could see this as clearly as you do?
That's a good question. That's part of the reason why we're here.
Even within the union, don't you have management players that kind of say, "Yo, pay attention. This is a serious crisis."
Well, it has been. All these issues have been discussed. I know that they say they've never been discussed, but they've been discussed at labor management meetings, which we meet once a month. We have daily safety huddles that mentioned there. We fill out unsafe staffing forms, which we have hundreds of. We're trying to get a safe staffing law passed through legislation for the patient ratio.
So I was going to say, I'd be screaming at management about unsafe practices, but the State Department of Health regulates what goes on at that hospital.
Correct.
And when I was the one who informed the director of medicine on day one of the strike what you had asserted, not you, but you, the union, had asserted about this unsafe practices and hoarding, supplies, and he was unwitting to it, completely had no idea.
Right.
Zero.
Which is a question you should ask them.
Well, no, it's a question I got to ask both.
Yeah. Right.
Both. I mean, there's two ways there's more than one way to skin a cat. It seems to me that you got the hospital management thing, but I'd be going to the state as a body to say, we have an unsafe environment.
Right, and we have been. We're at the State House all the time, trying to fight for safe staffing and better equipment.
I don't even know this is. I mean, legislation may be part of that solution, but it seems to me, if I'm a patient who's at risk because of a supply issue, I don't need legislation. I need somebody fixing it. That's triage. That's not legislation.
Right. You're right. We talk to them every day about it. It's something that gets discussed every day. So for them to say that they're unaware of the situations is unreasonable because we do talk to them.
All right, we'll come back. What's next? Another strike? What will that prove? Stay with us.
It's no one's intent to pursue a second strike. We didn't take the initial one lightly. They've continued to raise issues of patient safety, of fundamental workplace fairness that have been ignored by Lifespan leadership.
Ray Sullivan, spokesman for the nurses union. Okay, let me just clarify this. Is this supply and stress situation, is it dangerous or just highly stressful?
Highly stressful, very highly stressful.
So would you categorize the hospital as operating in a dangerous mode?
I don't know if I would use those terms. I mean, nurses tend to get everything done that they need to get done. We take our job very seriously. It's just very stressful. You leave work checking to make sure that you have everything done on your checklist.
Well, I would think you should.
Right. But it is hard when you're supposed to only have 4 patients to you and you're down a nurse, and now instead of having 4 patients, you have 6 or 7 patients.
Why the disparity between 4 and 6? What happened there?
The 4 and 6?
Yeah.
Well, 4 patients, it's usually
Is that standard?
It's standard. In most states, California and stuff like that, they have a 4-to-1 ratio on general floors, 2-to-1 in intensive care, sometimes 1-to-1
You're
in
in
intensive
care and pediatric.
Correct.
Do you have more than 2-to-1?
Sometimes we do.
It's a catch-22 that no one wants to play around with. If you're getting the job done and patients are improving, you know, mostly, and you're saving lives and you're doing all those things, the proof that the stress has gotten to you is a failure.
Right.
A failure, which is not like a sanitation worker, all due respect. They didn't take out the garbage that day. It stinks a little bit,
Right.
but you fail, lives are at stake.
Correct.
Is that what it's going to take?
We're hoping not. We're hoping that.
But you think it's right at that precipice?
It is right at that precipice. Yes, it is. It's tough doing our job. When we have the high census, it comes very close. We do have most of the units work well together. They've been working together for a long time, and that's why the new nurses come in. They see how highly stressed it is, and they go someplace else.
What's next? What's next? I mean, they were like rope-a-dope an offer, right? So did you think the 3-day strike or the 4-day job action proved anything?
Well, I think it did. It proved that we had a lot of support. We had our whole union was out there. Other unions came to support us all over Rhode Island and Massachusetts.
Well, that rubs your belly, but that didn't get you anything.
No, it didn't get us anything, but it proved that we have support. Our patients were out there helping us. A lot of companies came and donated stuff for us, showing their support.
So you took a 3-day, 4-day hit in income.
Yes, we all did.
A lot of nurses are living paycheck to paycheck.
Right, and we're hoping that it was an eye-opener for Rhode Island Hospital to show them the work that we do and the care that we give.
They're saying, who cares? I mean, they're not saying who cares, but they're saying, listen, we're not going to be moved by the threat of another job action. Are you guys considering that?
We're not considering it. First, we want to get back to the negotiation table, which happens Wednesday. We want to get a fair contract for everybody. That's our whole goal. That's always been our goal. We want to be back at the patient's bedside and focused on them 100% and not trying to worry about what to do next. Just focus on them.
Okay, listen, I mean, the work that you do is God's work. I mean, you're not perfect people. I'm sure you've got some crankers in there. Every organization does, but I think the public sentiment is more or less with you in one sense. We rely on these folks. I'm sure that if I had the opportunity, you'd share the table here with management and have some discussions here, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would.
Yeah. With or without Tracie, can we get the management team at Lifespan to actually do what they ought to do, and that is come here and talk about these issues? I hope so. Final word when we come back. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not in the business of baiting anybody, including the management at Lifespan, but, you know, there's so much community goodwill and things that Broadcast America does to advance their great work. When it's easy, it's easy. When it's hard, you still show up and answer the questions in the best fashion that you possibly can, right? The Tuesday broadcast, Tim and Ted, Tim White, Ted Nesi will be here to talk about the polling data, which has now been released in the statewide elections. See you on the Radio 3 on WPRO. Have a great night.